Alright guys, that's Kremp again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The World Championship bracket has now been set for some time. Dashy and Scrappy giving it larger. TJHaLy, who's finally made a World Championship with the Ravens after a couple of years, not at the biggest tournament of the season. TJ fires back and says, look, I'll be matching up with you guys in the winners finals. That may not be so likely though, based on the bracket of the tournament. What are we actually going to see when it comes to the big tournament? Could OpTic versus Thieves be a big rematch that these guys are looking for? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Good content to start the video here. Firstly, just quickly on this, Drazah yesterday was frustrated at many individuals not grinding, shall we say. Right now, 8 was a bit of a question mark. Now, yesterday there were concerns, or at least questions, on what the meta would be, as in what patch update would be getting played on. That may now have been determined. We'll talk about it more later today and the potential implications of that. But maybe that means that the players are actually, okay, you know, we kind of know what we're doing. Let's crack on. As Drazah says, me, Byron, Prolute, Capsule, and Dashy, Kremp, Sib, MC, and TJ. So seeing Cellium get involved, couple of Charles, pretty interesting, but yeah, some usual suspects in there. Pretty much 3 weeks out from the World Championship at this point. Today is, what, Friday? So, yeah, as of yesterday, it was 3 weeks on the Thursday where the tournament will start. It's the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday tournament, of course, at the World Championship. The Sunday is only the Grand Finals, right? The best of 9 Grand Finals. No advantage, as we now know, for the team from the winners bracket, which is still very questionable, in my opinion, but that's how it is. And the big talking point, certainly since Major 4 in DreamHack Dallas, has been, okay, does any team have the capabilities over a 9-map series to beat Thieves, to beat FaZe, apart from one another, right? Is there the strength in depth of the map pools for the other teams to make that happen? Possibly, possibly not, depends on your perspective. This I thought was pretty cool though, so if you guys are planning to go to the event, especially if you're not planning to stay in Kitchener, or if you live nearby Toronto and want to find a way to go, Toronto are putting on a bus. So here we go. We've got the blacklight best seats on the road. And I don't know if that's actually what the bus is going to look like, but this is the strategy anyway. I know they did talk about this for some time, and now it's been confirmed what they're going to do. So they have every day effectively a bus that will take you there and then return you. So the pickup on Thursday is 12 p.m, so noon. And the return bus will then leave, you know, late night effectively once all the matches are done. I don't know if that time is necessarily going to be set or whether it changes based on if the matches finish earlier or whatever. But anyway, that's the agenda. And I'm not sure if it's just one bus, but as they say, you can either pick it up from the Trinity Common Mall in Brampton, which is there on the map. So, you know, just to keep in mind, this is Toronto, this is Brampton, Kitchener's over here, of course, where the event is going to be. So you can either pick it up from there, or you can pick it up from downtown Toronto as well. So maybe they're going to put on 2. And anyway, so there's round trips available every day, and I think you have to like reserve the tickets and all this, but just thought I'd mention it because it was a cool thing that I thought Toronto were doing and not many people were really talking about it. Just to keep in mind, the Scotiabank Arena is here, so the pickup point in downtown Toronto is going to be around about the CN Tower, and then they're going to take you all the way, of course, out to, well, to Kitchener, which is over here, where the event is going to be at, let's see if we can find the venue. Yeah, here it is, the Memorial Auditorium. That is where the event is going to be happening. A couple of funny things were happening last night. There was a tweet from this account the other day. So it was like COD League, but it was a fake COD League account, right? Cold Eague or whatever, right? So they swapped it around. This account unfortunately got banned. Not maybe unfortunately, but I saw a tweet for this account and it basically said that whoever wins Champs or something is going to have to like host next year's one, and therefore they were looking for donations just in case Ravens wins that they could do it. Obviously it wasn't a real tweet. I don't know if Clayster got baited by it or not, but I think he did, because Clay in the reply says, this guy got me, and all of a sudden the CDL Overlord stepped in and suspended the account. So, you know, that was kind of unfortunate. We've also seen over the last few days lots of drama on the cheaters, certainly on the Warzone side. Like, it's a problem everywhere, but certainly in Warzone it's been a big issue. Fair play to Scump, he was trying to keep it rolling. I know that it's been frustrating over the last few days. Skyz was getting involved as well. Interesting for Skyz, like, what happens next for him, because, you know, he's been on OpTic relatively recently. Of course, he still is on OpTic as it stands, and as we know, there's a contract rule where if you're playing for the roster, then they get rid of you. They have to pay you at least a couple of months of salary anyway, so they might as well keep you on the organization, which I think is the case for Skyz. But I think he's done a pretty good job capitalizing on it, and hopefully, you know, works out well. Maybe he can come back next year. Maybe he has an opportunity for the World Cup as well. That was one of the discussions that I expected to have over the last few days, was what these teams may or may not do for the World Cup. They may still have time to make decisions, and, you know, I'm hoping that they do. You know, am I expecting that Falcons will turn up to the World Cup with the same team they currently have? I don't know. We've not heard anything to the contrary. But that would feel like a bit of an error if they could make a change. And yes, there is a roster lock, but last year teams kind of worked around it, right? Ravens brought in Beans, they made a couple of changes, and other teams were able to do that. This year I kind of thought a similar thing would happen again. Maybe Skyz could get involved if that was the case, but as it stands, doesn't really seem like all that much is going on. But before we get to the World Cup and really get to think about that, because that's pretty much the end of July, we're talking about the World Championship, right? This is still the big tournament of the season. I know that there was lots of talk last year, I'm sure they'll continue as well, how important the World Cup is as a tournament. Look, is it COD Champs? No. Last year they made sure that they couldn't have at the World Cup the same prize pool as Champs. That was like effectively what Activision said, is that, okay, if you want to run the tournament, okay, run the tournament, but just make sure that you don't give any more money away than we do. So that was kind of the feeling last year. And the money isn't the be all and end all. The World Championship in COD has been going on since 2013, right? We have 12 years now of World Championship winners that are all very legendary in their own right. Now, the World Cup, when it's also been a thing for 12 years, for 10 years, I think every single year the World Cup happens out there in Riyadh, it will carry some more weight. I think last year the teams weren't really sure what to expect. This year, my understanding is, and just my general feeling, that the teams will take it a bit more serious. Last year, it's not like they didn't take it seriously, but I think that every year that goes by, the World Cup will be treated, assuming it still happens, with, you know, more respect and, you know, like it matters a bit more. But is it the Call of Duty World Championship and, you know, counted in the same way? No, not in my opinion, and I don't expect that to change unless they end up merging the two at some point, which I'm hoping never happens, because I like having both tournaments. At least it gives us more COD to watch. But Champs is still the big one as far as the players are concerned. Like, if you look back to last season, who were the champions? You know, it was OpTic, right? People, okay, yeah, FaZe won the World Cup, congratulations, but, you know, OpTic Texas won the World Championship. That's still what matters, and that's, you know, what happens even, let's say, a season like Advanced Warfare, when the World Finals were won by OpTic, but of course that year Denial won the World Championship, so, you know, that's really still what matters. Anyway, Scrap and TJ, they were getting into it last night because potentially they could match up with one another in the tournament. But what they find pretty funny here is that TJHaLy, of course, and the Ravens, they made it to the World Championship. Maybe they got quite lucky to make it to the World Championship, because if we look at the standings here, we'll come back to this bracket in a second, but if we look at the overall standings on breakingpoint.gg, Ravens ended up 6th. I mean, look, they would have made it anyway. 9th was 165. They started the season well. You know, Major 1, Major 2 were pretty impressive for them in terms of a run. We look at it, Ravens scored 50 points in the first qualifiers. They went to the LAN and they came 4th, right? So they got 45 points. At that point, they were cruising, right? Major 2 comes around. They get 50 points in the qualifiers again. They go to the LAN. That one doesn't quite so much go to plan. But even then, during the minor tournament, Ravens still did pretty well. Since then, though, Ravens on an absolute heater, right? They went to the LAN at Major 3, did nothing. They had 2 wins during the Major 3 qualifiers, and then during the Major 4 qualifiers, they were 1 in 4. So, you know, they'd not done anything in ages. They scored 0 wins at the Major either, but it was still enough over the course of the season to get them to 220 points and get them into the World Championship. 6th seed, also not that bad, playing Toronto round 1, better than where arguably OpTic or Boston lie, playing at FaZe or Thieves in the first round. But yeah, Ravens made it to Champs. They did all the hard work early on, right, to make it happen, and as a result, Scrap and Dashy find it pretty funny that TJ, okay, he made it, but it wasn't exactly necessarily super clean cut at the end of the season. They've been on a massive free fall, and right now, are they a better team than Rocker based on what we saw at the Major? Not necessarily, but they did enough over the season to actually make it. So TJ's at Champs though again, for the first time, to be fair to him, in quite some time. It's been a difficult few years for TJ. Even last year, where he was much improved, the team still didn't qualify for the World Championship, right? This year, the Ravens have done so, which is probably, for the Ravens players, they'll feel like it's quite the accomplishment given the state of their organisation, and it may not be in the league all that much longer. But TJ, having, you know, caught some flack here from Dashy and Scrap, says, look, I'll be seeing you guys in the winners semi-finals and the winners finals respectively, and I'm looking to take you down. Now look, TJ, does he say this fully believing that it's going to happen? Probably not. Scrap and Dashy thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, Teach. Caps time now.
Yeah, Teach is at Champs, bro. Teach, I need an interview with you, bro. Yeah, Teach, how are you feeling, bro? Going into your first Champs in a minute.
Feeling good, bro. I'm trying to see you in the winners finals, Scrap. want that. I want that.
Me too, bro. I'll be waiting, bro. I'm excited.
I'm just taking it. I'm actually just taking it one game at a time.
Fuck up.
Me too, bro. Me too.
Yo,
you just thinking about Saturday, bro.
You dodged the bullet, bro.
Yeah. That's winners finals, bro. Saturday.
Bro, what? Dodge the bullet. I've seen you win a round too.
Not the bullet I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
Even bigger one, bro. I don't know. I'm just trying to like actually like say anything at this point.
What's this guy on about, dude?
I just really wanted to say that line. You dodged the bullet. Like I thought it sounded so hard.
That's actually fucking retarded.
Out of interest, these are TJ's last few years as a player. Of course, I mean, if you go on his COD Gamepedia, he's played tournaments literally back to Black Ops 2 when he was like 11 years old, 11, 12 years old. It's crazy. But yeah, so let's look at this. Cold War season was a mess, as we know. Honestly, TJ was pretty okay in Cold War. I think, did he have that map on Moscow Search? He went like 12-0 or something. Like, he had a good start to the season. Honestly, TJ was part of the best Thieves team in Cold War that they had, but then when Huke was available from Thieves, or from Dallas Empire to Thieves, they made the change, dropped TJ, and then the team got worse. They brought him back eventually, but it was never the same, and you know, that year TJ was certainly not playing at the World Championship. Vanguard comes around, they did make it to Champs that year. Of course, famously, Methods, TJ, Nero, and Vivid turned up to the World Championship, and, well, they went Game 5 with LA Thieves, Game 5, Round 11, in fact, on that Tuscan, if you guys remember, and then inexplicably all ran down mid on the final rounds, threw the round away. Thieves won that Game 5, Round 11, and having got over the hump, they went on to win the entire tournament at a canter. So, you know, things could have been different had they won that series, but in the end, they bombed out top 8. So, you know, TJ made it to that World Championship, but it didn't really go to plan. Year after that was on Vegas, certainly didn't make Champs that year. Last year it was on Ravens, didn't make Champs that year either. So, look, TJ's back at Champs this year. Great results, obviously lots of blue on the left-hand side, apart from that third place that the Boston guys got back at Major 2 2022. But yeah, this is TJ's recent run. But to be fair, his actual form and his performances, you know, I would have said after Modern Warfare 2 that TJ was really on his last legs, but he turned it around. Donnie Tempers made the point that TJ got LASIK, like he got eye surgery, during this time, roughly, because he couldn't see anymore. And once it healed, he's now been frying again. So that's the theory anyway, on why TJ is back over the last couple of years, whether you buy that or not. Intrigued your perspective as always in the comments below. But the World Championship hugely influential in terms of what changes teams may or may not potentially look to make as well. I know that people are saying, oh, well, FaZe can't upgrade, Thieves can't upgrade, OpTic can't upgrade. And okay, it's obviously difficult to see who would get, but you've always got to keep in mind that last year, FaZe bombed out at Champs, and they were going to drop Cellium, but they decided to give it one more go. At least that's what Cellium thought was going to happen. They gave it one more go for the World Cup. They won it. They stuck together, and now they've won. You know, they went for the three-peat, right? So, but I just don't underestimate how important it is if a team has a bad result at Champs. Like, that is crushing for the potential of that team actually staying together, and also the chemistry as well. Like, that's one point that you've got to keep in mind. So, intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. Just one final thing. Donnie Temp's been killing it recently. We've done some great interviews on the Breaking Point channel. You know, just looking back at obviously recent times, but also more back in the day, some more untold COD stories. We've got plenty more of these in the pipeline as well. So I think you guys are enjoying them. And I think Don's done a great job with a couple that he's done over the last week or so. So go check that out if you've got some spare time. Intrigued to your thoughts, as always, and all this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.